Hello and welcome. In today's video, we will be looking at how we can replace models in our existing Power BI reports using Vcad. We will be looking at some recent changes made to our templates and getting a better understanding of how the Vcad viewer determines what BIM files to render. Now let's get started by looking at one of our pre-made templates. So for example, here I have a Revit file, and I want to show you how we can change our templates and models being rendered. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and download one of our pre-made templates. I will note I am using the unified format for this model, which gives me access to the latest and greatest in the pre-made templates. So you can see here under the main tab, I have my main unified. This is what we're going to be downloading. Before I do that though, I want to go ahead and select a specific view or phase just for the purposes of this example. So over here, I can select one of the available views and phases. Let's go ahead and actually select the new construction phase. And now I can go ahead and download the template. Let's open it up. So in particular, this latest standard for Vcad data has been built to simplify maintenance of my existing reports. And so we're going to be seeing what new additions to our templates have been made that make this possible. So let's give it a second to download all the Vcad datasets, again in the unified format in this specific case. And you can see the report is opened up and it's all pre-configured and ready to go with my both model and view that I have selected. So let's just make sure that everything is running correctly. So here I have my actual model. And one important thing I'll show you is if you want to verify that the phase is being loaded, we can just select the model viewer, and I'm going to go over to the formatting options and then show rooms, and we can see that here you can see these little boxes showed up. So these are the actual rooms, and I can even do you one better. Let's scroll down to the R for rooms. There we go. Let's toggle the rooms. There we have it. And we can see that now I'm only selecting the rooms in the model. Now, this is a quick and easy thing to note. The room geometries are only available in Revit phases. So it wouldn't be available in the default view, for example. So just to double check and make sure that it's loading the correct phase that I had selected. Okay, great. So now I want to show you the changes that were made to the template. So to do that, let's actually start with the data sets. So let's go over to transform data, and I'm going to show you how the data is actually loaded into my report. So for example, let's choose a data set and let's keep it simple. Let's go with Vcad assets. So Vcad assets is the list of all the objects in my model. And if I want to see all the transformations that have been applied to generate the data set, I could step through all these steps here. We're going to keep it as streamlined as possible. So let's just go to the very source step, so the beginning, and I can see that this Vcad assets data set actually starts out referencing the assets_parquet data set. And if we load that up, we can see it up here. So I'm going to click on that. You can see again here there's a few steps, and the source for this query is a function called Vcad func get file, to which we are passing in a file name assets.parquet. Now let's have a look at this function as well. I don't want to go too much into detail. It's going to be a little technical. It's not important that you understand every line of code. I will be pointing out the most important aspects. So let's go into advanced editor and let's check out the code for this function. So this function, first of all, receives a file name. So that would be that assets.parquet that we were looking at before. And then we can see up here what it's doing. It's basically building out an HTTP call to the Vcad APIs. In particular, it's calling the get file API, and it's passing in something called Vcad UID file. And it's passing in that file name, so this is assets.parquet, and then finally it's passing Vcad viewable name. Now, we already saw what file name is. Vcad GUID file and Vcad viewable name are actually two parameters that we are storing inside the report that reference respectively the slot ID, that would be Vcad GUID file, and the selected view, that would be viewable name. We can close out the function for now, and we can have a look at those two parameters, which we can find down here. So the Vcad GUID file, this is the slot ID. Okay, so if we have a look at the template, or actually at the file manager, real quick, we can see that my slot ID was A9019, and if we return to the template, that is exactly what I'm seeing here, A9019. So this is the reference to the model itself, and then if we have a look at the viewable name, this is a reference to the phase that I've selected. So these two parameters are telling all the transformations in my report to load the data for that model and that view. And we've centralized it in order to make all maintenance operations in this report simpler. The data sets are loaded based on this, and I'll show you in a second, even the viewer goes and reads these parameters to figure out what to render. Actually, speaking of that, let's move on over to the viewer. So let's keep this in mind, and we'll return to this in a moment. But let's have a look at the actual report itself. And in here, I can show you the viewer configuration. So also the Vcad custom visual has been heavily updated to use these centralized parameters. So not only can we type in the values, but we can use those parameters. In particular, if we head on over to the formatting options, let me make this a little bigger, and then under model data, and you'll see there's several different data bindings. This is part of the new updates that have been made recently to the custom visual. So not only can we type in the values, but we can also feed it through these functions that Power BI gives us access to. This is true for several different parameters, but for now we're going to be focusing on file ID, and if we have a look here under Forge options, also the selected view GUID. Now these retain the old parameter name for compatibility's sake, but they are essentially loading those two bits of information. In fact, if I have a look here at the function, I can see this is reading the first Vcad GUID file, and the way you would do that is you would tell it I want to format style. It needs to read the field value, and then we're going to have to pass in the field itself. So down here I want to extend this, find Vcad GUID file, and select the first and only column, and that will tell the viewer to read the first value of that data set. And the same goes for the selected view GUID. This is telling the viewer which view or phase to load when the model first loads up. And so exactly the same way, this is reading the first Vcad viewable name, which is the phase name that we were looking at before. Okay, so this is how the viewer can read those parameters. And if you're ever curious about what the values in those parameters are, you can either come over here in the table view, or in our templates, we've added a last page with that information in it. For now, let's return to the actual report page. And let's have a look at, so to replace a model being rendered here is very simple. All we have to do is just update those two references to slot ID and to the view. So for this example, I'm going to keep it very simple, and rather than change the whole model, I just want to change the view that's being loaded. So to do that, I can return to my file manager, and I can select a different view, and here I have a list of all my views. Again, just to remind you, we're in the template download page, and I can select any one of these views. I'm not sure which one. Let's just do sliding. I can just click here on the copy button. This will copy exactly the text that is in there. If I return to my report and actually go to the transform data panel, here I can select the viewable name parameter and update the reference over here. I'm going to close and apply, and all of the data sets that are built based on those parameters will be refreshed. So you can see here Vcad asset is being reloaded. Now let's switch pages real quick so the viewer can reset with all the correct information in it. And let's undo the selection to rooms, which probably isn't correct anymore. And now my correct view is being loaded in. So you can see here I only have those lighting elements because I've selected that specific view. So this is very simple. I just refreshed a parameter, but the cool thing is now all of the viewer instances which are reading from that same parameter are already updated. So I just have to update one bit of information, and the data sets and the model renderings all get updated depending on that parameter. So really drastically reducing the times to manage this sort of updates. Okay, so this is all well and good. In this first example, we saw an application in a fresh template. Of course, we could have simply downloaded a new template. I could have come over here to the file manager, changed the view, and then simply re-downloaded the template with the correct view. But this same operation can save us a lot of time if we need to load a different file in a complete report that has been updated. So for example, let me open up real quick. I have it over here. Let's close this template. I don't need to save it. And I have prepared a report from one of our previous videos. So in this case, it's actually the 5D report that we showed a while back in our video. And in this scenario, what happens is I have a fully working report ready to go with all its data loaded in, a bunch of transformations, a bunch of visuals set up and ready to go, and my model rendering already. So it's all working, and you can imagine I've published it, I've shared it with my client, but now circumstances have changed, and for example, I've had to move the file from one location in ACC to another, for example. So for example, I've had to move it to a different folder. Of course, I cannot start over with creating my report. I can't start from scratch. I have a bunch of transformations. I have a bunch of configuration done. That wouldn't be feasible. But because all of my queries are built off of those get file function and those parameters we were looking at before, I can simply update that reference. So just to show you, if we go over to transform data for my report, here I have a couple data sets I've generated. Don't worry about this. This just needs to refresh. Okay. But all of these are actually reading and starting off based on this Vcad UID file. So this is my old slot ID. If I go over to my file manager, here you can see I have a file called RAC5D. This is the file that we need to update to. So this is the same model, but it's in a new location. And so it will be assigned a new slot ID. So I can copy it from here. We can go ahead and copy it from the template download. It's exactly the same. And now if I go ahead and switch on over to my report and go to transform data, I can paste it in here. So you can see I'm replacing the old slot ID with the new value. And now I can close and apply. The other thing I want to check out is probably the view name. Now I will note for an IFC file, the view name is not important. There is a single view for IFC files, and so what we usually write in here is the actual file name, just as a reference and something that makes sense. This is true for IFC models and Navisworks models. The view selection is really only important for something like Revit or a DWG file. In these other two cases, it doesn't really matter. So I can go ahead and close and apply. And again, here I'll see all my data sets will refresh to load the information coming from my new slot. Now, there won't be any big updates or changes to my model. I simply moved it over. So the report will function exactly like it did before. So you can see here I'm loading into model. It's connected and working with all of my data. and I basically made that seamless transition to the new slot. So even here, if I have a look at the connection, again, this is reading from that parameter, so I don't have to worry about any of that. This is already working with my new slot. Super simple, super quick. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, these examples are made using the unified conversion type, which is good for two reasons. First off, it gives us access to these new templates that are set up to use these centralized parameters, which is great. And another great thing is this conversion type, so the unified conversion type, that has been generating the Vcad datasets maintains the same structure regardless of the BIM file type. So this means that I only have to learn the way one data structure works regardless of the files, and I can switch between these completely seamlessly. So for example, if we head on back to my file manager, you can see here in my folder I also have a RAC5D NWD file. So this is a Navisworks model that I built starting from my IFC file, but you can notice the size is drastically smaller. So this is exactly the same model, but in Navisworks it occupies less space, and we'll see Navisworks are better optimized to be read and rendered in the model as well. So usually if you can choose, Navisworks is a good choice. But regardless, in this case, we can imagine I've created all my report, and then afterwards I've realized I have to switch to Navisworks. Well, because I've used the unified format, you can see here all three of these are unified, that is not an issue. I can easily switch my report to the Navisworks model. So to do that, all I want to do is I want to open up the template parameter. I have my Navisworks available, and I'm going to copy the slot ID down here. Then I can go back to my report and transform data, and I'm going to update those parameters. So again, Vcad GOD file, this is the slot ID, so I can update this again, and now this is referencing my Navisworks model. And I should update also the view. Again, as I said, for Navisworks the view name isn't really important, but just to keep things clean, let's go ahead and let's update this to use the new file name. So that was rac5d.nwd. And now I can simply close and apply and have everything refresh. So new data sets are coming in, but because the data structure is the same, there are no errors. All my transformations work exactly the same with the Navisworks data as it did with the IFC data. Let's go back to the report, let it reload a little, and we can see that this all will work exactly as it used to do, but now it's using my IFC model, which is a little quicker, and importantly, now it's using my Navisworks model, which is a little quicker to render and to interact with. So really, really good update, quick and easy. So thank you for being with us. This has been a look at how we can replace BIM files in our existing Power BI reports thanks to Vcad's recent optimizations, trying to keep it as simple as possible to maintain complex and large-scale projects as well. Thank you again, and do stay tuned for more videos coming to our channel. If you want to subscribe, you can get more information about how you can better manage your BIM models in Power BI thanks to Vcad.